South to Central Florida Sports Report. I'm Ken Landis, the host and producer and editor and all those other things. But let's get to that later. This show is basically purposed to cover the South Florida teams that don't get a lot of national love or attention, or even any Florida teams for that matter, because everyone talks about New York, LA, all that good stuff. So I'm going to create this show just to give that extra love to the South Florida teams, the teams that I love. As you see, I'm rocking Panthers here today. As for the name, South to Central Florida, I lived in South Florida, and now I go to college in Central Florida. So not only do I love the teams down there, I'm starting to love my UCF Knights up here, and also following the Magic and other things going around us in Central Florida. So this show will be covering those teams as well, and maybe if I have time in shows, all of Florida. Now, why am I doing this? Well, like I said, I love the South Florida sports community, and they don't get enough attention as it is, so I'd like to bring attention to them. But I also am pursuing my dream of becoming a broadcaster, sports broadcaster. Always had a childhood dream of it. Always loved watching, people like Rich Waltz and Craig Minervini, who obviously were big in the Marlins and the Panthers community. But yeah, this is to just get some practice in, get some reps. It's all about practice, as Allen Iverson would say. Not the game, but we're going to practice now. I have 2 upcoming broadcasting gigs that I'd really like to prepare for and to work hard for perfecting my broadcasting career, voice, whatever you want to call it. So with that, I'm going to give you guys a little preview of what a show will contain. They'll start out slower and then slower and shorter, and then we'll get more in-depth and longer episodes if the show succeeds. I'm going to try and do like a radio style show, even though I'm on camera. Don't really know where to go to radio broadcast, but we're going to see how it goes. So without further ado, here's what we've got coming up on today's show. Leading us off, we're going to talk about the Panthers' 4-game winning streak on their attempt to make it 5. And are the Heat cooling down? They've lost 5 straight games and are on a spiraling skid. But there is hope. And are the Marlins going back to Teal? We'll find out. So starting off with the Panthers. They've been a very streaky team all season, but they've finally won 4 in a row. That's the first time we've done it this season. And they're looking for a 5th against the Kings. That's their last game at home before hitting the road on a West Coast trip. They're going to hit Edmonton. They're going to hit Winnipeg, and they're going to hit one other city, I can't remember. But they're coming up on that West Coast road trip. They're going to hit the Leafs as well, actually, but it's more of the East Coast. Important road trip coming up, especially if they can keep this momentum going. They've won 4 straight with kind of a whole variety of players scoring. I mean, the first 2, I'm looking at it now, Huberdeau, Dadonov, Yandel, and Matheson all scored, so they've got some star power in there, but it's mainly the role players that have been scoring, because the game after that was Sevier, Matheson, Yandel, and Malgin. Then you finally had the Stars come out for that 3-1 victory. I think it was over Detroit. No, that was the Detroit one where Huberdeau got that last second goal with about like 8.9 left. And so Huberdeau, Barkov, and Ekblad scored that game. And then our most recent victory, Barkov scored twice, and McGinn scored once. So it's been kind of a whole cast of people scoring for the Panthers. And oh yeah, we can't forget about Harry Sateri in goal. NHL rookie. He's our 3rd string goalie. Luongo goes down early in the year, then Reimer follows him. And now we're stuck with Sateri, but that might not be the worst thing in the world. NHL named him their 2nd star of the week. And while he's been playing at least these last 4 games, the Panthers haven't scored less than 3 goals. Not that that's his fault or his problem, but if I'm not mistaken, Sateri also hasn't allowed more than 2 goals in this 4-game win streak in each game. The most, I think his first victory was over the Islanders, 4-1, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, Reimer's coming back. He will be added to the roster for this game against the Kings. Will he start? I don't know. If I were the coach, I'd leave Sateri until he loses the game or until he looks like he can't continue as a starting goalie. But Optimus Rhyme is definitely a valuable asset to this team, especially with Luongo down and it's okay to have your backup goalie going for a string of time, but I say if Sateri starts to struggle or he looks bad, that's when he might get pulled. But Reimer, coming back from injury, they might just throw him back in there. We'll see what Bob Boughner does. It's interesting. But the Panthers really need to continue this run. They had dropped 4 straight prior to this 4-game winning streak, and they're finally getting themselves back in the mix of things. And looking at the playoff picture here, it doesn't look too bad yet. The Panthers have about a 22% chance of making the playoffs right now, but they do control their own destiny. And that's something that, it's a 28% chance. 28% chance of them making the playoffs right now, according to playoffstatus.com. They got some interesting numbers up there. You can go ahead and look at them. But while we're talking about the whole playoff picture here, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings, and we'll kind of talk about that and what the Cats need to do to climb back into the picture here. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Atlantic Division standings here, brought to you by NHL.com. And as you see, Florida's in that 4th spot, but that's 17 points behind Toronto. But it's okay because Florida has 5 games in hand. That means they've played 5 less games. So that's at least 10 points there on the table, or at most 10 points on the table that they can make up. Now on to the wild card, and as you see, Florida's not really at the top yet, but they are only 6 points out of that 2nd spot behind Columbus. And once again, there's a 2-game in-hand advantage for Florida. They have the least amount of games played in that wild card picture. So they could definitely climb the ladder soon, but they need to keep this play up. So moving on to the Heat now and their 5-game skid, it's kind of troubling to see that they're losing to these teams. They just lost to the Orlando Magic, who are 20 minutes down the street. But that's not a team that the Heat should be losing to, especially when they were in contention for that 3rd seed with the Cavs. When they had that matchup with the Cavs that they ended up losing by, I think it was 2 points. If they had won that game, they would have gone to the 3rd seed. But ever since that game, they've just been on a slide, and they're going to continue to slide. But help is on the way. Breaking news just today, Dwayne Wade is back in Miami. So Miami-Dade County goes back to Wade County. And also coming back to the Heat via another trade, Luke Babbitt from the Hawks. And then we sent Okara White over to them. And what we gave up for Wade was a protected 2nd-round pick. Not as important as some people might think, but it could still be a factor later on. But who cares? We got Wade back. And but hopefully, I don't know, maybe this is a kick in the pants for the Heat team, and seeing that there's a little shifting going on, and that anyone's replaceable at this point, and someone could steal your job tomorrow. So hopefully this is the shot in the arm that they need, and let's go ahead and see where they are in standings right now and what they got to do to climb back up. So taking a look at the NBA.com standings here, as you see, we've already slipped all the way down to the 7th seed after this 3-7 skid we've been on in the last 10 games, but still only 3 games behind Cleveland. We're 3 games over 500 and can easily climb up a couple spots in the next couple weeks, as long as we turn it around and don't keep losing. Miami's still got a chance to sneak into that 4 seed, maybe even the 3 seed. Now we're going to move to the final topic of the day, and that's, are the Marlins bringing back Teal? It's been since 2011 is the last time they wore anything that was remotely teal. No All-Star jerseys with teal, no throwback jerseys with teal, and finally we're getting a throwback jersey just like the ones that we saw them play in Pro Player Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium, whatever you want to call it now, Land Shark Stadium, Sun Life Stadium. So back in the good old days, and they came out with their 25th anniversary logo, and it was actually appealing to their history and showing where they came from and I guess where they are now, which is in a great spot. But hopefully they'll become in a better spot as they move forward, and they're going to use these jerseys during the season. So as mentioned before, here is that 25th anniversary logo, and I really like it. It's a nice nod to the past, and here are those throwback jerseys. They will only be worn in one weekend in June against the Padres at home, but I am going to try and attend one of those games. I'd love to see these on the field again. It's been a while, and hopefully it'll be a huge hit. I'm really hoping Jeter does more with the teal. I'm really hoping that the team goes back to teal. Maybe get a newish logo, but still have a nod to that past Marlins they had. That would be great. But other than that, that's it for this show. The inaugural kicking off, if you will, of the South to Central Florida Sports Report. And if you want to see me talk about something that you want to hear me analyze, or if you just want to have something discussed, leave in the comments. Also, while you're there, go ahead and hit that like button and maybe subscribe to me, see how this channel goes. That would be great. Hoping to do some big things in the future, and this is just a stepping stone to getting there. And hope you guys have enjoyed this, and keep tuning in for more episodes coming up in the next couple weeks. Thanks, guys. Catch y'all on the flip side.